All right, Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. Sunday, January 4th, a little after 11 a.m. We're first Sunday in the new year, so 2026. So let's see if we have any questions. A lot is going on politically, globally. So anything that we discuss, anything catch your attention?
Again, Grand Rising family. I got a question, Ron. This is
Yes, ma'am.
Jackie.
Hey, Jackie.
And hey, um, I'll guess, and I don't know if it's been discussed already, but my question is about the 250th, I guess, anniversary of America, United States. Do you
Mm,
care to elaborate on that? What does that mean for us?
Pastor. Pastor, are you
Oh,
muted?
okay.
Okay.
The 250 years is simply celebrating the length of time that the country's been in existence. However, um, the backstory on that is you cannot celebrate 250 years of the history of this country without understanding that this country has been at war over 200 years of its existence out of 250. Um, you cannot celebrate the history of this country without celebrating the enslavement of the African in particular and the world in general. You cannot celebrate the history of this country without celebrating genocide. You cannot celebrate the history of this country without celebrating uh, the murder of people of color for the express purpose of taking their resources. You cannot celebrate the history of this country without celebrating imperialism, colonialism. You cannot celebrate the history of this country without celebrating the reality that people of African descent were treated as cattle. And because of the buying and trading Africans and auctioning Africans, the stock market, Wall Street came into existence. And you can't celebrate the history of this country without understanding that it was enslavement that brought capitalism into existence and enslavement of Africans that built this country, enslavement of Africans and the lynching and murder of Africans, the rape of our women, the murder of our children. You cannot celebrate the history of this country without celebrating all of those things that are vile and vicious, barbaric and ungodly. I cannot think of one thing that this you can celebrate in this country with a clear conscience. I cannot think of anything in this country that is worthy of being celebrated when you look at how this country has been the scourge of the earth, has been the actual cancer in the hearts of mankind for as long as it has been in existence. From that point to this day, even prior to its inception, when the barbarians were here anchored on the coast of this country, the onslaught of what they were doing to us who were already here, in addition to what is being done to this day. You have to celebrate, in order to celebrate this country, you have to be willing to celebrate what the capture of Maduro yesterday, day before yesterday, and justify it with a lie that he was illegally elected when Jimmy Carter was there during the election and said that it was one of the most fairest elections he had seen in Venezuela that out of all the ones that he had overseen. So when it comes to that, I have nothing to celebrate in this country in terms of its existence. Out of all of this, the only thing that I can see worthy of looking forward to, and that is the demise of this country and the which will bring into existence the balance and peace to this world. That's the best I can do, Jackie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
And
guess
just after hearing, I'm sorry. I was just going to say really quick, after hearing that, I didn't think it was anything that we would want to celebrate, but I just needed clarity on that. And I just seen the news and things of that nature. I was thinking it wouldn't be anything I would want to celebrate or we would want to celebrate. So thank you for the clarity.
And thank you for raising the question.
I guess one of the thoughts that came to my mind, and someone may elaborate further on this, is 250, the 2 and the 5 is 7. This is talking about a fullness too as well, I think. Something full and about to overflow, and it is time for something new to happen. But it happens on the back that this 7 will not be forgotten. It happens on the back that this 7 offers a lot of experience as to what the newness is supposed to look like. So I like to carry that forward with us as well.
Any other questions or comments in regards to that or anything else?
Hey, Pastor, this is Charles. Only thing I see that he doing that man like they did Parliament Hussein. That's the only thing I see in that.
It's not, I don't want us to look at the individual person as doing something because when you look at the reality that what Bush did to Iraq and Saddam Hussein and what's happening with Maduro, this is the same person. Bush is Trump, Trump is Bush, Bush is every leader that's been in that presidency. Even especially when you look at how deceptive Jimmy Carter was as being president when he was the primary one who wrote this policy about how to keep us as a people separated and fighting each other and actually put it into effect and is still in effect to this day. There hasn't been a leader in this country who has ever done anything that was going to help us. The closest who came to it may sound crazy and because of some of the things he had to do was Obama, and that was with healthcare. But when you look at Lincoln and the rest of them who are held up as deliverers of Africans, none of them did anything for us because they cared about humanity. They did it for selfish and self-serving reasons. Lincoln was a person of self-hatred because of his birth. If you read the in-depth history of Lincoln, you will find that Lincoln was a swarthy man. Lincoln was dark-skinned to the extent that when they were circulating leaflets when he was running for president, there were people in the country who said that they were not going to vote for a nigger to be president. And they had to take all of those leaflets out of circulation because Lincoln was much darker than he is presented to be now. Lincoln literally was dark as any person who could visibly be seen as being of African descent. So when I say self-hatred, that is what I am referencing. History is the great storyteller of truth. Even though what we have been embracing as history has been his story, the story of the colonizer, and not the story of truth. So here we are now in a space where we are no longer searching for truth because we come to the realization that we are the essence of truth, even though we are still in the process of bringing to our memory the truth that has been in existence since before the beginning of this natural physical earth and world. So now that we are understanding that and have embraced that, we see things quite differently than what we have in the past. I was speaking with someone on yesterday, and a scripture came to mind, and that scripture speaks to the sin that was attributed to Jesus, when he says that it rains on the just and the unjust. That scripture was not talking about it rains on those who are just, as well as the enslaver or the oppressors who are unjust. It was not talking about it rains on the inhabitants of Northern Africa, as well as the Romans who invaded Northern Africa. It's referencing the just and the unjust. The unjust are those who have embraced the mindset of the European. And the reason they are unjust is because they don't know who they are, and they have become the face of the oppressor, as well as the enforcer of oppression itself. And by virtue of saying that it rains on the just and the unjust, what's being said is that the rain or the showers of truth that rains on those who are searching for truth, those who embrace truth, also rains on those who don't know that what they are living is a lie. The truth that we speak and talk about putting in the macro is no different than the dust that is taken from the earth and mixing with the water that is drawn from the earth. And when the dust reach a proportion where it becomes too heavy to be held in the water, it rains. The truth that we put in the macro is held in a space just like the rain is. And when people are tired of being tired, or when they don't see hope and start searching for something else, it is then that truth begins to reign on those who are unjust and open their eyes so that they can see the injustice that they have been perpetuating and begin to move in a direction of righteousness and thus becoming one with the just, not simply because of who they are, but because they are recognizing who they are. There are so many aspects of this truth that we see in the scriptures. Yesterday, when Barbara concluded with the expressions that she made in reference to Sankofa, there was something that clicked in me about our journey out of Egypt. I know that the scriptures presentation to us about Egypt is a reference to where we are right now. This place that we live is Egypt. We don't see it as Egypt because we see Egypt as a country. If you look at the meanings, you will see that Egypt is not a country, it is not a geographical location, it is a state of being. Egypt, the word Egypt means to be a cramped space. So Egypt is a state of being, and that state of being is being forced to live in a cramped space. Even though we feel like or believe that we have freedom of movement, we are spiritually and emotionally in a cramped space. And now that the blood has been placed on the doorpost, meaning that the life of humanity has been placed on the doorpost of change, men are beginning to see and experience the oppression that has kept us all in a cramped space for such a long time. They're beginning to see that it's time to leave, and the leaving this cramped space carries us across this thing called the Jordan River, which means that it carries us from a life of having been cramped for 500 plus years to a life where all of us are free to be who we were or created to be. Right now, we are actually in the wilderness of change, and in this wilderness of change, when the scripture talks about things being drawn out of us before we can enter the promised land, this wilderness experience is an experience where we are flooded with the truth if we desire to open the gates and allow our hearts to be flooded with it. And this concept of those who died in the wilderness has nothing to do with physical death as much as it has to do with emotional death, the death of the lie that has kept us in the cramped spaces. And when it talks about the two, Joshua and Caleb, who went into the land of promise, it's talking about the concept of deliverance that takes place, the deliverance of this consciousness that has been cramped, the deliverance of our emotions and our sense of self being realized The death is not individual. The death is the death of the concept of the lie that we have been inundated with. The death of our belief that our deliverance lies in Christianity and Islam and whatever, rather than lying in our hearts. We are the only deliverers that can deliver us. We are the only deliverers that will deliver us. So when it talks about this this land of milk and honey, it's talking about a consciousness of self that allows those who are searching for truth to have this experience of a consciousness that is open to truth. And at that time, that concept of being open to truth and this concept of being able to expound on the truth places this truth in the atmosphere, in the environment. And as this truth permeates the atmosphere, then these shackles of the lie that we live in a free world begins to fall away. The scales begins to fall from the eyes of those who are still struggling to hold on to this lie and looking forward to going to a heaven that does not exist, and hoping others to go to a hell that does not exist. When the scales falls from the eyes, it is then that we as a whole begin to experience the consciousness of promise. And that consciousness of promise is the consciousness of truth, the awareness of the divinity that exists in this earth, that is embodied in the children of Akebalon, a truth that has the wherewithal to bring honor, to bring balance, to bring a sense of worthiness back to humanity. That worthiness, that sense of balance cannot be experienced by humanity if the experience of it has not been embraced by the divine ones who were brought into this earth to dominate it. And that word dominate is not meant to mean to be abusive in your domination, but to be loving kindness, to allow loving kindness rather to be the dominating force in the earth, so that we can live in an environment of righteousness and swim in a river of peace without having to be concerned about whether or not we are going to be able to sustain ourselves in an earth that was brought into existence by our Creator. Right now, if you have to pay to sustain your life in this earth, you have to pay to drink water. You have to pay to have utilities. When there are ways for the whole of humanity to have utilities that cost absolutely nothing and have the free flow of water that no one has to pay for. The basic necessities of this life cannot and will not be provided until the divinity, the divine ones in this earth embrace who they are and remove themselves from being perpetuators of the enslavement that has brought us to this place where we are. So right now, we still are experiencing the crampness, or the tightness of where we are in this society. That does not have to be. And the reason it doesn't have to be is that we have opportunity right now to not only recognize the spiritual unhealthiness that permeates this society, but also recognize the healthy essence of awareness that we have right now. And when we recognize that, embrace that, and live by what resonates with us, it is then that we will realize that we are capable of creating in an instance. And what I mean by that is we are capable of altering the adverse direction of the society and bringing into existence a society that is beneficial to everyone. And I know that we are at this space of manifestation right now. Someone sent me a message, and that message spoke to the same day that that Noriega was removed from office. It's the same day that Maduro was. And my response was that history has to repeat itself so it can correct itself. History repeats itself, not so it can correct itself. I misspoke there. History repeats itself so it can be corrected. We are the correction of history. And because we are that correction of history, what we are seeing, if we were to look at what has taken place previously, we will see the exact same things are taking place now. And just as the bird of Sankofa turns his neck to the egg in order to go back to get it, we are in the space now to go back and get the wisdom that has been available to us since before what we call a physical beginning. And embracing that wisdom gives us the understanding that is necessary for us to begin to walk as God in this earth and not to walk in death as mere men. When we refrain from walking as gods in this earth and choose to walk as mere men in this earth, as humans in this earth, we are walking in death and not life. It is only when we walk as the procurators of life, the source of life, when we walk in that vein, it is then that life as it should be begins to become a reality to all of mankind in this earth, in this universe. There is no doubt that we are not the only ones in this universe. Yet, just as it's difficult for so many to believe that, it is just as difficult for us to believe that we are not who we were told we are. We are who we were created to be. It's so difficult for us to believe that because we have been so thoroughly co-opted by the system of indoctrination that permeates this whole earth. And it is time for us, at the very least in our meditation, to desire ancestors to guide us out of this fog of enslavement into the light of deliverance so that humanity can have this experience. I am thoroughly convinced that there is no outside source that's going to bring harmony to this earth. The cosmic mother is not going to do it. The universe is not going to do it. We have been told to do it by virtue of being told to dominate. The guidance will come from there, yes, but the actual changes comes through us because we are the dominators of this earth. The ancestors are the ones who, for lack of a better way of saying it, are the ones who show us how to get this work done. Our submission to them, being open to the guidance is the avenue through which, the avenue that we travel in order for us to receive the guidance that's necessary to bring this whole debacle to an end. Any questions or comments?
Grand Rising, everybody.
Right, Roger?
I'm gonna just say ashe to that because now in these last few months that we've been able to see ourselves in the scriptures. There's no denying that what you're saying is true. Because if in fact the scripture is talking about us, then all the metaphors apply. So I say ashe to that. Everything you said.
Sure, thank you. If I teach you, if I tell you what to think, I control you. But if I teach you to think, I cannot control you. How many times have we looked at the scriptures and thought about the things that we just accepted without even thinking about it in Christianity? Because through the centuries, we have been told what to think. We have never been taught how to think. And those of us who were taught to think, even if we taught ourselves to think, are the ones who have presented the greatest danger to the system that has kept us in bondage for so long. And now I see very clearly the danger that is beginning to grow as the desire to become aware of self on the part of the Babylonian, as it expands, the danger increases. And as the danger increases, so does the fear. And as the fear increases, so does the mistakes. The thing that took place in Venezuela is an example of a mistake. However, if you listen very carefully, this is what is being said. They're not even saying that he is a threat to his people and we must go in to save them from his wrath. They are no longer saying that he is killing his people and we must go in to save them. That is the pretext that we once used to go into other countries to change the regime. Now it is just blatant. We're no longer, in other words, we're no longer lying about the reason we are going in. It's open now. And the reason it is open is because we made a decision, and our decision was that we wanted everything to be revealed, everything to be uncovered. And this imperialistic attitude, this the colonialism has been uncovered. The 1884, 85 division of Africa that took place in Germany, at that conference in Germany. The effects of that is being seen, and the remedy to that is being experienced now. So, what we are talking about now is the holiness of the period that we live in. We live in a time period that is more holy than it has ever been since the beginning. And please let me hastily explain what I'm saying. This period of holiness is a period that has been set aside for purification. Holiness means to be set aside for a purpose. And this time period has been set aside for purification. And purification does not speak to perfection in the way that we call it perfection. Purification means that we are being purified from following the edicts of a mindset of the Neanderthal, a mindset that has tried its best to rob us of our compassion and our empathy, our sense of forgiveness, our sense of self. This period of purification is a time of repose, meaning that we are in the lake of fire. And the lake of fire, in accordance with the understanding of what's written in Revelation, speaks to a period of purification where we experience repose, meaning that we experience a separation from the emotional anger that we have attached to the brutality that we have both seen and experienced. And this gives us the opportunity to be purified in such a manner that we are free to the point where we can embrace the reality of Sankofa, go back to get the wisdom that belongs to us. Go back not to pick it up from the ground, but to reveal it from within, to free ourselves from all of the things that has been forced upon us to cover these this wisdom, this truth, this understanding. I will say something that I read last night. It's been some time since I received it, but I had time to just sit down and read several, to listen, not read so much, but to listen rather at several videos that Barbara had sent. And one in particular talked about depression and how depression gives you the space to come to grips with who you are, or opportunity to look beyond that state that you're currently in. It's much more than that. It's something that I would love for us at some juncture to delve more deeply into. And I would, without trying to put her on the spot, ask Barbara if she would look at that, and we delve deeper into it in regards to how it affects us, because it's not what psychiatrists say it is. It is actually a spiritual state that grants privilege for us to take the time to see beyond the things that overwhelms us, because depression is actually a message that you're being overwhelmed by something. And I would that Barbara, you would look at those things that you said, as well as the one that speaks to suicide, having transition by suicide.
Be happy to.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. I think it would do us well. and would free so many people for us to not only put it in the macro, but for us to have the experience of what is being said there. Are there any questions or comments about anything? There not being any questions?
Hey, Red, some of us get ready to speak. When I spoke, and I don't know who it was, but they can give them time to go ahead and speak now.
It's open to them. It's open to whomever. Maybe the question was answered that they were going to raise, or the statement was made that they were going to offer. If I may continue looking at where we are, we are no longer in a transitional period. We have been out of this period of transition for quite some time. We have already transitioned from the leprosy of Christianity and the cancer of religion itself. We are now in a place of healthy spirituality, no longer infected by pseudo-spiritualism. We are at a space now where we understand the wisdom of embracing voodoo and dispelling Christianity. We are at a space now where we are more comfortable with embracing the traditions of our ancestors and embracing them for who they are. Last night I sent something concerning one of the persons with whom I worked in DC. He was from Newark, New Jersey. Imamu or Mary Baraka. He was doing the eulogy for help me, James Baldwin.
Yeah.
And I sent that in. Ron called me this morning, and he said to me something to the effect that, well, he's here, let him say it.
Just made me look at ancestors from a broader perspective. I think I'm one of these people that's visual, so when I think of ancestors, I see family members, and what he listening to him talk kind of helped me expand that a little bit. I listened to Pastor talk sometime about his past and some of the people he knew, and some of the people who were assassinated. I thought about that. They were assassinated chasing their dream, and their dream was unity for the African. The dream was love. So now that they're in a position that they no longer have the same distractions that we have, I see them clearly as an asset and a oneness, a unity of them being ancestors that are readily available and probably, well, not even probably, but would love for us to gain an understanding of who we are so that we can move on both sides. So I just saw some of those names and some of those people that I have been introduced to from the videos Pastor has sent or books or whatever as being not only part of my ancestry, but someone that I see very clearly now and be able to capture their wisdom. So just saw them from a different place.
And thank you. And after I had gotten off the phone with him, giving some thought to what he said, I had an experience very strong experience. And that is that this was brought to my attention, something I'd never given any thought to. Brought to my attention because these are the primary ones who transitioned me from that space of Pan-African nationalism, where our desire was to physically deliver Africans through war. That deliverance from that is because in the depths of their hearts, their desire was as ours is, and that is to bring harmony to the world by delivering the African from enslavement. And in thinking about what Ron said, this transition that took place was because now they see the true journey that needs to be embarked upon in order for that deliverance to take place. And out of all of them with whom I worked, I was the youngest all the time. I mean, in every instant, I was the youngest. And they molded me. Not just the leadership of Imam Baraka, Stokely Carmichael Brown, not just the leadership of Mel Coley and Doug Moore, not just that leadership of Marion Brown, but Marion Barry rather, not just that leadership, but the historians, the ones who taught history, the C.L.R. James, the ones who you probably never ever heard of, the Russ Adams of the world. That had to be for a reason. And here we are at this period, this transitional period, having to live in Egypt in order to be able to bring us out of this cramped space. What do I mean? I went to Egypt. I was reared in Pharaoh's house. When I was a little boy, I was in Sunday school. And I rose to the ranks of civil rights as a child, as a little boy, 9 years old and up from there. As a little boy, I understood the policies of Pharaoh's house. And I went into the military, the defense of Pharaoh's house, and I learned those policies. And also, I was certified to be a leader in Pharaoh's house by being licensed to preach. So Christianity is the house of Pharaoh, especially in this country. And I was reared in Pharaoh's house, and it was a struggle crossing the Jordan to get to a place where we no longer were able to abide by those policies of enslavement, believing that they were policies of deliverance. When the day that I stood before the people that I cover and said that I have led you wrong, from this day forward, I will teach you what's in the scriptures and not what I was told. I will teach you the truth and follow me as I follow God. That was the day that we crossed into the wilderness. That was the day that we crossed the Jordan on dry land, meaning that that's when our consciousness reached a state of neutrality, a state of questioning everything and trusting nothing that we have been taught. That was a state of conscious neutrality. And moving from that state of conscious neutrality, we were brought together, and and being brought together, not just there or in Gaffney, but also in Columbia. And that's when we started the purging in the wilderness. And the day that we had to leave the building that foundation and the building that greater new faith, the 2020, when we walked away from those buildings because of COVID, that is the day that we entered the land of promise, a consciousness of righteousness, a consciousness that has been promised to us. And that consciousness is the promise of being brought to a state of remembrance of who we are, a consciousness of a desire to become aware of the essence of what spirituality really is. And in our search for spirituality while in this land of promise, we were looking everywhere. We looked in the wind, and there was no God. We looked in the mountains, and there was no God. We searched every place, every nook and cranny, trying to find God. And one day, we closed our eyes, and we were shown a mirror. And when we looked in the mirror, we saw God. And from that day to this one, we have labored tirelessly in this land, this consciousness of promise. And now that we are at this state where this consciousness of promise is something real to us, because we understand that that consciousness of promise is the mirror of who we truly are. It is the reality of everything that exists. It has no lies mixed in it. It is simply truth laid bare before us, a truth that forced us to look within and purge ourselves of those things that were adverse to what we were being shown. And one of the first things that we had to purge ourselves of is hatred, disdain for those who have been the enslavers to us. And in purging that and replacing it with unbound forgiveness, we begin to see the true nature of what God is. And as we saw the true nature of what God is, and it began to resonate with us so deep until it became undeniable as to who we are. And then, having done that, our ancestors showed us something. Our ancestors showed us how to connect the understanding of being God with the reality of the existence of our ancestors, and to see with our spiritual eye the womb out of which all of us came, and to understand that we are the entities that created humans. And at the point of our having created humans, something happened. Something happened that actually we thought short-circuited our journey when the Neanderthal invaded, but it actually did not short-circuit anything. It was there, that, and it made us aware that in order for us to walk as we were created to be, and that is as God in this earth, we had to create in our image and likeness, meaning that the physical entities that we created, that mindset must be transformed so that that mindset would be the mindset of their creator. And that is the mindset of righteousness. That is the mindset of peace and harmony in the earth. And in order to do that, we had to travel through a period of chaos and bring that chaos to order. And if we really think about it, it has not been that long that we have been under the thumb of the Neanderthal mindset. Because when you think about the millions of years that we've been in the earth, and we have been under the thumb of the Neanderthal for somewhere between 500 and 700 years, that's not that long. Yet now here we are. We are traveling, we have traveled actually in a cyclical manner beyond the 500 to 700 years to the space of seeing what it looks like to have order, peace, and harmony in the earth. Now that we understand what that looks like, we are on the precipice of seeing it visually. We already are experiencing it spiritually. And the visualization of it can be seen when we talk about the spiritual essence that we are for the entire, the whole of humanity, and the spiritual essence that we are to bring this self-awareness to all of the children of Kabbalah who desire to walk in it. But in conjunction with understanding that the resources to sustain humanity in the earth are in the Kabbalah. And when we take the understanding of the purpose of those resources and connect them with the spiritual essence of who we are, then we see a clear picture of what peace and harmony looks like. The guidance coming through the spiritual understandings of Mayat and the sustaining of the physical bodies coming as a result of the resources from the land mass that we previously occupied in the beginning. And seeing all of that, we now are ready to do what is necessary, meaning that to take the next step. And that next step is not doing anything physically. It is embracing everything spiritually. And in order for us to do that, we must read the signs of the times. There is an effort that has been put forth to destroy that. And the largest reserve of oil on the continent of Africa is northern Nigeria. The largest reserve of uranium is in Mali. Gold, Burkina Faso, and I forget what it is in Niger. But they are being threatened right now. And they are the foundation for the resources that we are to use to sustain humanity worldwide. It is incumbent upon us to understand that it is no coincidence that the U.S. went into Nigeria, northern Nigeria, to bomb it. And the area that they bombed, talking about, they went after ISIS. ISIS is not even there. They went in there because there is a planned invasion of those three countries. The intent is to make an example out of those three countries. But there is a new sheriff in town. And that new sheriff is called Elohim. We are the essence of everything that is spiritual. We are God in this earth, and we will not allow imperialism and colonialism to continue to enslave us. We will not allow it to thwart the move of deliverance that is taking place as we speak. No harm can we allow to come to those foundational states that we are building upon for the sustaining of humanity in this physical world. It is our responsibility to hold the line. It is our responsibility to be prepared to receive the arrows and the bullets that's going to be flying towards them. We are the wall that they must penetrate in order to be successful in what they seek to do. That will not happen. That is our declaration, not our desire. That is a reality. It will not happen. We are who we were created to be. We are God. And I know that what I am saying to you, especially right now, is resonating deeply with you. There is this experience of resonance that is deeper than it has been in a long time. Why? Because we are not unified with the ones who are bringing the resources online. We are not unified at all. We are already one. There is no difference between us. The only thing that is different is the responsibilities that we have to humanity. One is the sustaining of the physical, and the other is the sustaining of the spirituality in the earth. It is the overshadowing of righteousness that God brings to the earth. It is the inundating of all of humanity with love and kindness in their hearts. It is the demise of hatred and greed and murder in this earth. It is the demise of colonialism, imperialism in this earth. And it does not matter how it takes place. It must happen. And what I mean by that is this. It doesn't matter if 1,000 have to fall on their face, never to rise again. It doesn't matter if 10,000 has to fall on their face, never to rise again. What matters is that righteousness prevails. And the prevailing of righteousness is predicated on us, is based on how our commitment, our desire, our embracing the essence of who we are. This is where we are. This is not a year of being flippant. This is not a year where we get angry about what we see. This is not a period where we feel disappointment about what we're experiencing. This is not a year where we question, where are you, God? When you want to know where are you, God, look in the mirror and see where you are. Then you will know where God is. When you ask the question, God, why is it that it's taking so long? Look in the mirror, because the God that you're asking is you. You ask yourself, what more do you have to do from within in order for this to be sped up? When any questions that you have about where God is or what God is doing, look in the mirror, close your eyes, and ask yourself that question. Because the God who is responsible for the permeation of spirituality, the God who is responsible for humanity in this earth, is the God who created it, the God who brought it into existence, and the sustaining of it is also up to the God who brought it into existence. And those providing resources will only be able to be the distributors of those resources based upon the spiritual essence of the children of Akabalon, the land of life, the Garden of Eden. No other way. It will not be based on greed, and it will not be a supply for those who are greedy. It will be a source of sustaining for humanity, for everything in this earth. And in doing so, this earth will be purified. It is up to us to purify the waters. It is up to us to purify the soil. It is up to us to remove the ingredients of death from the food that we ingest. It is up to us to speak now on behalf of those who don't know that they are eating poison, so that the poison will be sweetened and will not harm their bodies. It is up to us to speak the truth about the efforts to vaccinate for the purpose of death, for the purpose of ridding the earth of humans in this earth, ridding the earth of African gods in particular. It is up to us to speak that truth, so that we can take the poison out of the bodies, take the poison out of the minds of those who don't even understand that they are being poisoned. I'm done. Thank you.
Ashe.
Anybody? Questions, comments? Okay. Are we done then?
I am.
All right. It does sound like a good place to take a pause. So, while my mind is on it, I want to remind the teachers that we are on with West Hope today at 3. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Lot said. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Hope you guys have a great day. See you tomorrow evening, okay?
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you, everyone.